what we're going to do is we're going to go to check out episode 2 of our Road to 30, which should be a little bit more interesting than our first episode of Road to 30, because that was just kind of me laying the groundwork to, what the Road to 30 was actually going to be. Because the Road to 30 didn't really fully get fleshed out until probably, if you look, like, this is right around the time where the Road to 30 really came into its own, because, the videos started getting longer, the details more vivid in my memory, and, this is, like, pretty much the bread and butter of the Road to 30, where just, like, my entire life goes to shit, which obviously a lot of people love watching a train wreck, so that's why the Road to 30 and that part ends up getting pretty interesting for a lot of people. So let's go ahead and check out Road to 30 episode 2, Growing Up Very Poor, Humble Beginnings. Some Gotham City Imposters gameplay. See, those of you guys out there that are like, oh, Mac, Borderlands major channel. Nah, man, I've been around way longer than Borderlands. Y'all just don't remember because you didn't find me until Borderlands. But I still had quite a few subscribers before Borderlands popped off on me. And, let's not forget that Destiny and GTA 5 also were pretty big draws to my channel. But let's go ahead and just check out episode 2, Growing Up Very Poor, Some Humble Beginnings.
What's up, guys? It's Jay, MorninAfterKill, and I'm back here on my Road to 30. This is a series where I'm basically giving you an autobiography of my life, decisions I've made, and also past experiences and memories that's come to shape who I am at the point in time that I am right now. And
that's actually interesting that was the intro on the Road to 30 since episode 2. I didn't realize that I was using that intro since that early in this series, because like I said, it didn't really hit its stride until like episode 12 or 13. But I'm actually pretty surprised that I was able to keep with that intro pretty consistently throughout the whole series.
Road to 30, this is a series where I'm basically giving you an autobiography of my life.
Also, let me lament. I am sorry. I might go back and maybe go through some of these videos and re-record some of them and put them in like a podcast format, because my audio quality was absolutely atrocious then. I was using a Blue Snowball, which is now my PS4 microphone, and I didn't use any audio software at all. I just pasted that shit over some gameplay, adjusted the sound of the gameplay, and shipped that shit off to YouTube. I was still pretty new to this. I haven't perfected my craft as well as I have today.
Decisions I've made, and also past experiences and memories that's come to shape who I am at the point in time that I am right now. And by the time this series is over, I'm going to be 30 years old, and I'm just looking back and seeing exactly how my life has pretty much turned out. So, last episode I gave you guys a rundown of my parents, of who I came from. And a lot of you guys were like, man, you had a fucked up childhood. And yeah, I did have a fucked up childhood, but you guys haven't even heard the half of it, because all you heard was just about, my birth situation, my parents, how our monetary situation, our financial situation was pretty much settled at that point. And it gets a little bit more fucked up as we go along. But don't worry, because there are a lot of funny fucking stories that are going to happen later on in this series. So,
do you see me right there? Like, I keep saying, like, it's all fucked up. There's a lot of fucked up shit. Like, I'm preparing you guys. But more so there.
Shit. That just happened.
I think Thank you, Mark.
MAKSMRT.
Love you, man. But if you go there and you listen to it, I'm actually deflecting quite a bit right there, where I say, oh, don't worry, even though there's fucked up shit here, there's some pretty funny stories in there. And that's kind of how I've been my whole life, is I use humor in inappropriate situations to kind of make myself feel a little bit better. So it's something that, like, my mother absolutely hated about me as a child. It's like, she found out about it when we first went to our first fucking, family funeral, and I was sitting there fucking making jokes, farting, waving it at people and shit like that. I was like I was super young. I went to my great grandma's funeral, and it was just like 5 or 6 years old, I think, like somewhere around there. Maybe I was a little bit older, like 7, but I use humor to deflect, situations, because I don't deal with showing outward emotion very well. It's just something I've never been comfortable with, is, crying in front of people, which I've actually gotten a lot better with it, like, these days, because I'm a little bit older, and I don't really give a fuck as much about what other people say. If I feel like I have to cry at that motherfucking point, I will cry at that motherfucking point. But, if you got something to say about it, I got no problem whooping your ass while crying. I've done it before. Let's go ahead
Like I said,
and
last
move
time
on.
we just talked about my parents, and today, in this episode, I'm gonna be 2 years old. And I know a lot of you guys are like, man, how the fuck do you have any memories from when you're 2 years old if you're 29 right now? And that's because I've mentioned this before in my videos. I have what's called a photographic memory. I can actually sit here and look inside. I know this sounds weird.
This is funny. At this point in time in my life, I thought what I had was a photographic memory. But after talking to people over time, and, them asking me how my memory works, and, I tell them, like, oh, I think about something about that day, blah, 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 remember what I was wearing or whatever, and then my mind takes me there, and I kind of look at it like a movie, and people are saying that, that's actually an eidetic memory, which is a little bit different than a photographic memory, because photographic memory, people remember still images and dates and things like that. But I can replay events in my head all the way back to, like, certain significant moments in my life. Like, when I was like 2, 3 years old, I still remember shit in my head. Like, I can still, like, look in my head and tell you exactly what our fucking living room looked like. It wasn't pretty either. We had one of those big wooden ass TVs, like, where the TV's built into the cabinet. It has, like, the record player on top, and it's, like, made in, like, 1967. Wasn't even cool enough to be made in 1969 looking ass. So
I know a lot of people, like, they don't really understand it because your memories aren't really formulated the same way that my memories are formulated, but I can look inside my head, and I can roll the years back, and I actually have, it's like a movie inside my head, and I can look at these picture reels, and I can see exactly, like, everything I've done. It's not like everything. I can't, like, be like, oh, Friday the 13th, fucking 1995, I ate a bag of Doritos. No.
I probably did,
that.
though. I probably did eat a bag of Doritos. Let's see if there was a Friday the 13th, 1995. Here's the Friday the 13th calendar. 1995. There was a couple Friday the 13th. One in October and one in January. I probably ate a bag of Doritos because I was like, 12 years old at the time? I fucking tell you, I smashed out a bag of Doritos every day from the time I was like 10 till fucking 19. So yeah, hell yeah, I actually did. I did eat a bag of fucking Doritos on Friday the 13th in 1995.
More or less, like, very, very...
That's the riveting content you guys have come here for, in the revelation from this fucking retrospective of the Road to 30, is whether or not I can confirm if I've eaten Doritos in 1995 on Friday the 13th. And I can confirm for the content.
Prominent situations.
Don't say I don't fucking deliver.
In my life, they burn a memory into my head. and I can actually see what's going on. It's kind of cool because I can look back and remember exactly how things looked in the 80s. Like, if I go back to my hometown right now, and I go to an area that I have a memory of, I can actually, in my mind, picture what this area looked.
I can do that. I can go to areas that I used to live in and have very vivid memories of, and I can superimpose in my head over top of what I'm seeing right now what I used to see back in the day. I can still do that. Like, that's why I really would like to go visit one of my old houses and see how them motherfuckers have it all set up in there. But, that area is probably gone to shit these days. And I'm not knocking on some random motherfucker's door in Trenton, New Jersey and be like, yo, mind if I come film your house? You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. What the fuck you think? Hold on.
Looked like 20 years ago. And actually, it's still fresh in my memory like it happened yesterday. So, like I said...
Stop rambling, Mac. Get to the point.
And this is the year that my dad left. I do know that my mom and dad had a lot of problems. Like I told you, I don't really have many memories with my dad. And the really fucked up part about this is really fucked up. Like, if I told this to a therapist, I'm pretty sure they'd be like, well, we have some sort of explanation for why this is. And in the memories that have my father in it, I can't see his face. Like, I literally don't.
I know what my father looks like now. And I'm sad to report that my dad actually kind of looks like Hitler. Well, looked like Hitler, because he's dead now. I don't know if I have a picture of Hitler Dad. Let me see if I can find a picture of Hitler Dad. Yeah. This is a picture of the guy who's supposedly my dad. Kind of looks like Hitler there. He's got the whole swoop going. You get the whole mustache going on there. I have another picture of him around here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. Give me like 5 seconds and I'll see. Oh, there it is. Here's a better picture of Hitler Dad. There's a better picture of Hitler Dad right there. And that's the other, that's the whore he laid down with in California. That's not my mother. But, yeah. My dad definitely bears a little bit of resemblance to good old Mr. Hitler. He said the Marlboro Man. I definitely don't think it's the Marlboro Man, but he smoked Newports. I do remember that. He kind of looks like Alan Jackson. I'm not sure who the fuck Alan Jackson is, but let's get back to this program.
I don't know what my dad's face looks like. I do know, however, that my father supposedly looks a lot like my brother. So, in my memories, I kind of just paste my brother's face on there because it's kind of fuzzy. It's weird.
My brother doesn't look like Hitler, but they do have very similar faces.
It is weird, but yeah, this is the earliest memory that I have of my dad. And we were living really, really poor. Like I said, my grandpa, my grandma, they didn't want my mom living with them, with my father, because they hated my father, and they didn't want...
Here's an interesting story that my mother actually told me about my father and my grandfather before I was born, and I was not aware of this. And I've learned about this over the years since my grandpops died, and... apparently my grandpa was a little dude. He was like 5'4", 5'5", right? But he could box like a motherfucker. Like, the dude threw hands up in the fucking, in the military. They had fucking, their whole little thing where they fucking boxed each other and shit like that. And fucking, the dude had hands. My grandpa was a little dude that can fuck motherfuckers up. And apparently, when my dad came to pick up my mom from the house, he went outside, and my dad's like 6'2", 6'3", and he went out there and just fucking Michael Jordan aired him out, bro. I'm dead ass serious? He did one of these. He did one of these for my cousin Vinny, bro. Right here. He did one of these Jones.
Take a shower, get a new suit, get dressed, and get to the fucking courthouse.
You fucking shower, I'll get your fucking suit.
Hey, little Yankee wuss. Look here. I got you $200. You gonna kick the shit out of me now?
He did that! He fucking did!
Me now?
He just fucking Superman punched the motherfucker right in the grill, yo, and knocked him the fuck out. That shit's hilarious. He fucking Michael Jordan aired him out. A couple of my family members have backed up that story as well. My mom was not fucking capping on that. Not just fucking throwing shit. This is actual story. My fucking grandpa, Michael Jordan, aired a motherfucker out.
With 2 kids, because they've already raised their kids, and my mom was the youngest of, I think, like 7 fucking kids.
6. It was 6. I don't know why I was adding another kid inside there, but... you know, when I used to do these commentaries off the noggin, you'll understand why my later episodes that are longer episodes of Road to 30, I actually had bullet points, you know, put down for, you know, things I actually wanted to make sure I got in there as 100% accurate, because, you know, the stories in the later Road to 30s, they all intertwine with each other, so you have to have the historical accuracies correct, or else the stories won't make sense. Right.
7 kids, and the last ones, like I said, my mom and her sister were twins, so you can imagine
that is true.
Being thrust upon that. Yeah, I'd be done with kids too. If your kid was 18 years old and had 2 kids, it's like, you know what, you made your bed, go lay in it. It's true. I 100% agree.
That is true. If my son ended up coming to me and was like, yo, I knocked up a girl, can me and the girl and the baby come live with you? Be like, fuck no, motherfucker. Hell nah, man. Like, I'll help you get an apartment, you know, but you gotta get a job and pay some bills, motherfucker. But I'll help you get on your feet, but you ain't moving into my house. I paid $125,000 for my motherfucking house. And that means that when my balls or my asshole want to be fresh and out in the open, they will be. And I ain't having my son and no other fucking bitch and some fucking grandkid that he's knocked up living in my goddamn house, letting me fucking make me have to fucking close the door to take a shit. Paid $125,000 to be able to shit with the door open. I'm gonna shit with the goddamn fucking door open.
Agree with my grandparents. So we were living really, really poor, and we didn't even have...
That's the one fucked up thing I don't agree. How you saw, I said I would have helped set my son up with a fucking, you know, an apartment or whatever. I wouldn't have let my son and his girlfriend live as poor as my mom and dad did. Because you're going to hear some really fucked up shit coming up in just a few seconds.
Have a TV, because I do remember, like, probably a few days, maybe a week or 2 before this memory actually happened. I don't have a visual memory of it, and that means I probably didn't see what happened, or it was probably late at night and the lights were turned out. But I remember my mother and my father, they were screaming and bitching and yelling at each other. And when I mean screaming, yelling, and bitching, I mean they were screaming, yelling, and bitching. And there was a crash, a loud bang, and I'm pretty sure that loud crash was the TV that we owned, a really small black and white.
I've actually spoken about this with my mother. Yes, I can confirm this is true. Before this memory happened, my dad did hurl a fucking television at my mother when he was mad. But, you know, I don't think he meant to hit her with it. Because, like, it probably, like, because I've done the same thing later on in my life. I had the cops called on me from my baby's mama because I threw a flower pot at the wall. I never threw it nowhere near my baby's mama, but she was scared and she called the cops, you know? My mom wasn't a cop calling cunt like my baby's mama, But, I'm pretty sure she probably realized that my dad didn't hurl a TV at her. He hurled a TV at the fucking wall, So my pops beating my mom. Well, yeah, no. Don't get that wrong. My pops definitely probably laid hands on my mom a few times. But I don't think he hit her with a TV or meant to hit her with a TV. It's just an actual throw of the TV. However, I won't make any excuses for any possible domestic violence that's going on. The situation that I am describing does sound like that I was witnessing some domestic violence as a younger child, but like I said, through my own experiences, I don't want to judge my father too harshly on that, because I have had this same shouting matches and throwing shit in a house without laying hands on my baby's mama. So I can see where he's coming from, but I can also see where, chat's coming from, that I might have possibly be witnessing, some domestic violence issues as a child. It's possible. However, like I said, both my mom and my dad are dead, and, I don't want to fucking, rain on either one of their fucking parades. Let's just fucking leave their fucking, they were both shitty people, and we'll just leave it at that. Alright?
Going across the living room and smashing it into a million pieces when my father threw it at my mother. Like I said, yes, they've had a lot of problems, and I'm actually glad right now, looking back, that they probably didn't stay together, because, if they did, I might have turned out a little bit more fucked up than I could have. But yeah.
That is true. That's another thing. At least my mom and my dad both had good enough sense to not live this long together with children in the house in a toxic situation like that. So, even though they were both young, dumb, full of cum, stupid fucking dumb parents, at least they had that good enough sense to not let kids grow up around, actual factual domestic violence and toxicity like that. However, that doesn't mean that I didn't grow up in a toxic household at all, because my mother was still plenty toxic herself.
Yeah, getting back on the subject, we were really poor, and I remember my dad came home, and
you hear that? The way I say we're really poor. Listen to my voice every time I say that.
Up than I could have. But yeah, getting back on the subject, we were really poor.
I still haven't dealt with the fact that I grew up poor, and that actually affected my life a lot, especially when I was living in Cali. There's this thing called imposter syndrome, and I felt like an imposter living in California, because everything was like so high end and so expensive, and I was living on like my buddy's fucking couch for a while, and then when I finally had my own room, like I didn't have a fucking bed, I was just sleeping on a fucking bunch of blankets on the floor and shit, so that's actually something that recently, over the past like few years, I've dealt with, the fact that I've grown up poor, and I haven't dealt with that healthily at all. I mean, obviously, I've bought back a large portion of my motherfucking childhood, but that's another episode in the future in the Road to 30 that we're gonna explore why I have this shoe collection.
And I remember my dad came home, and he was a little bit drunk, a little bit soused. I remember that for sure, because my mom was yelling at him, and usually...
That's one thing, yo. I don't remember much about my dad, but I do remember his breath, yo. My dad's breath always reeked of alcohol. That motherfucker drank like a fish all day long.
Usually when somebody comes home drunk, my mom yells at him. I know this from experience from my teenage years, that, when you come home drunk, it's not really, fun to have somebody, especially like my mother, who has a screeching voice like a motherfucking chicken hawk. I swear I was like, anyway, that shit. Like I said, she was screaming and yelling at him because he came home. And
my mom's voice would pierce through your motherfucking head. You thought my voice was bad? She'd be like, I'm not gonna say my name, but she'd be like, yeah, yay, hey. Get your ass inside right now, motherfucker. Listen. You don't tell me what the fuck to do. I'm the adult here. Which means I'm smarter than you.
and he didn't have any money left. And my mom was yelling at him, what happened to the money? My father happened to take the money, go to the bar, he got some beer, he bought some chips, and he came home with a big pile of car magazines. Now this is actually funny, because I've told this to my baby's mama back when we were living together, and she's like, oh Christ, and you say you're not your dad's fucking kid? Yeah, you're your dad's kid, because it's the same shit that I buy. Like, if I go to the store, it might not be chips, I might come home with cashews. I love cashew nuts, but I do love beer and car magazines, and it's actually just...
I no longer drink, fun fact, but I do love car magazines. I actually have a pile of magazines in my bathroom, cars, shoes, and video games, because, I don't know, I like reading magazines in the bathroom. Y'all motherfuckers may call that old school or whatever, but, you know, I just never really thought about bringing a phone into the bathroom. That's just weird.
It's kind of funny, but yes, that's right. Since we were poor, the only thing we had to eat in the house for dinner was chips and beer, which means I...
Sour cream and onion potato chips and Budweiser beer and the little nippers. My dad had a little 6-pack of nippers.
have a memory. I know you guys are like, this is fucked up. I have a memory of being 2 years old, sitting down at the living room table. We didn't have a dining room at the time. It looked like a really small apartment now that I'm looking back inside my head. This is the 80s, remember, so it's probably really early 80s, like 84, 85, somewhere around there. So, which means since we were poor, all of our furniture looked like it was from the late 70s. So, it's actually really fucked up looking at it in my head. But I remember sitting down.
There was a lot of brown and orange in our living room. The table was dark brown. The TV was dark brown because after that fucking one got broken, my grandma brought over one of those TVs that was in the cupboards, and it had like a fucking record player on top of it, and the speakers were built in and shit. Fucking the carpet was brown. It's crazy.
At a coffee table in the living room with my brother, and we were eating chips and beer for dinner.
Off of fucking paper plates.
And actually, when I was a kid, I remember this is fucking cool. You know, I get to be like an adult and fucking sit back and have a couple munchies and shit like that. But now that I look back at it, I probably think that it's a very bad idea to give a 2- and a 4-year-old kid some fucking chips and beer for dinner. And then I go back and I think about this and I'm like, was my mom not smart enough to give us water? Or were we too poor to have the water turned on in the house? Was it shut off? I don't know.
I'm actually pretty sure that our water had to have been shut off, because there's no way that my mother would have given us beer instead of water in a cup. I'm just saying. Either that or my mom didn't trust Trenton, New Jersey's tap water that much that she'd rather give us Budweiser, which, I mean, if you ask a beer snob, they are going to tell you, it's water anyway, mostly water.
I'd like to give my mom the benefit of the doubt and say that the water was shut off in the house, but the fact that I remember sitting down for dinner, eating beer and chips, means that my mom probably wasn't smart enough to go to the faucet and fill up a cup with some goddamn motherfucking water. So, anyway.
No. What that means is it's irrelevant whether or not the water was turned on or turned off. My mother should never have ever fed me beer and potato chips for dinner. She should have took me to my grandparents' house, and my grandma would have probably fed me and my brother. But, I don't, like I said, I don't give my mom enough credit for being able to come up with those types of solutions on her own, because she wasn't very high IQ, for sure. But she did have a work ethic like a motherfucker, and I did pick that up off her, so, you know, at least I could say that one thing about my mother. Like, my mother, she worked her motherfucking ass off her entire goddamn life.
Like I was saying, this is pretty much year 2 of my life. It's the year that my dad left. I remember right before he left, he stole my mother's car and sold it for $500, which sucks ass because looking back, I remember it was a Chevelle. It was a Malibu Chevelle 4-door, and it was a really cool car. It was beige. I remember the beige leather. I had a little fucking booster seat in the back that I used to sit in. And, you know, you fucking pull that shit down over top. You know what I'm talking about.
It was, I'm pretty sure, a 67 or 68 4-door Malibu Chevelle. It wasn't like a crazy awesome super sport or like fucking 454 version or anything like that, but it still was a Chevelle, you know. This is a pretty cool fucking car back in the day. But, you know, even though like I still like kind of pissed off that my dad did steal that from my mom, let's be real, my mom would never have had that car by the time I turned 18 anyway, so no big deal. Still kind of a big deal, especially stealing a car and just selling it without a title for $500. It's fucking crackhead money, man. Fuck's wrong with you, dude? Fucking Hitler dad, man. It's no bueno, senor.
That's right. I have memories sitting inside a goddamn motherfucking booster seat. That's crazy. So like I was saying, that was my second year of my life. Living poor, my dad leaving, and us eating stale potato chips and beer because we were that motherfucking poor. But things get a little bit better after this, and we're gonna go ahead and talk about that in the next episode. So my name is Jay, Morning After Kill. Make sure you guys rate, comment, subscribe. I want to thank you guys for watching. This was episode 2 of my Road to 30, where I give you a brief...
Was I not doing my outro then yet?
...autobiography of my life year by year. So like I said, my name is Jay, Morning After Kill. Make sure you guys rate, comment, subscribe. If you could throw a thumbs up on the video, I would highly appreciate it. And I'm gonna see you guys later.
Whoa, that's crazy that this actually precedes my Road to 30, you know, intro precedes my... If you could leave a thumb up on a video, I'd highly appreciate it because it gives me motivation to make more videos for y'all motherfuckers that watch my motherfucking videos. Outro. That's actually crazy. But, yeah, you know, not really much a revelatory episode, except for the fact that, you know, you get a little bit of insight, a little bit of background of where I come from, the type of, you know, childhood and road that's gonna be laid out for me. You can see it's already a rocky road from the start. So this is kind of like the second episode laying a little bit more of the like the first episode we laid the foundation, and now we're just like building the bones of the house, the structure of the house. And you know, we'll see where this takes us next, because episode 3 next week is called Rocket Propelled Turd Nuggets. And yo, I can tell you for sure that this episode is absolutely hilarious, because I remember this episode, like not the episode like that I'm talking about, I mean the episode in my head. I remember this memory still vividly to this day, and fucking still just one of the most disgusting things I've ever fucking seen. And I seen a video on Twitter the other day of a motherfucking man's face eaten off by a bear, and all he was a flapping face of meat in a hole talking out of it with a fucking selfie stick. Like, fucking crazy, man. World's gone mad. So, my name is Jay, Morning After Kill. I'm gonna thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys rate, comment, subscribe. If you leave a thumb up on a video, I'd highly appreciate it, because it gives me motivation to make more videos for y'all motherfuckers that watch my motherfucking videos. But yeah, this is episode 2 of the Road to 30 in retrospective. My reaction to the Road to 30 some years later. And we watched episode 2 in episode 2. Next week, episode 3 is gonna be, yeah, episode 3. So, my name is Jay, Morning After Kill. Thanks for watching, and I'm gonna see y'all motherfuckers later. That does not mean that we're leaving, okay, guys? Oh, I was holding that in for like 20 fucking minutes. I'll be right back. When we come back, we're gonna go ahead and do some more just chatting and some.